We are all familiar with the saying, home is where the heart is. We all cherish in our hearts an amazing place with an amazing story that has become our home and that we sincerely call home. We all hold in our hearts memories and experiences that enrich our lives, experiences enriched by those who we call brothers. Fred Rogers said, "The greatest gift you ever give is your honest self." And what a gift we have been given, with the treasured reality of brothers living in unity that we call our community. It's all a matter of heart, from heart to heart. Sit back and enjoy some cherished memories, stories and recollections of the heart that you may not know about our Father Abbot Douglas Nowicki.
One day at supper, I said to the abbot that Jacques must be about halfway across the Atlantic by now, and he seemed surprised. And I said, well, yeah, he came in this morning and he said to me, I'm on my way to France, and the abbot gave me permission, and I just want to tell you I'll be back in 11 days. See you later. I said, okay, Jacques. The abbot said, what are you talking about? I said, well, Jacques said he got permission to go to France from you this morning. He said, oh, no. But I was on the exercise machine, and he came in and said, can I have your blessing? I gave him a blessing. Maybe that's enough. So I suspect that Jacques got a little more fatherly, direct talk after he got home.
A reminiscence about Douglas Nowicki. My favorite, I have to say, is from before he was abbot, and we were at a wedding reception, and it was a great time, and it was all the usual things at a Catholic wedding reception, including music and dancing. And at one juncture, on came a polka, and I looked out on the floor, and who was out there but Douglas Nowicki dancing the polka completely unselfconsciously. And I said to myself at the time, that boy can dance.
First of all, apologies to all of you monks who have received an assignment by text, a multiple text, over multiple texts. It is all my fault. I'm the one who taught Archabbot Douglas how to text. But to confirm the old adage that no good deed goes unpunished, there is a story. A number of years ago, I committed to the Archabbot to give a talk to this group. And as that date was approaching, in fact, just the day before that date approached, I got 4 really nice tickets to the Pirates game. So I called up 3 alumni and invited them to come with me, but it conflicted with that talk. So I told the Archabbot that because of an alumni event, I was unable to fulfill his request. He was not a happy camper. But I didn't tell him exactly what that alumni event was. So he went to the prior, who was also not all that happy, and he got him to do the talk for me, for him. Well, Archabbot was at a confirmation that day. He couldn't do the talk. So he came back from his confirmation, and as he will tell you, he rarely watches television, but he wanted to check the score of the Pirate game. So he turns on the television, and there behind home plate, these were really good tickets, there I was. And so with his newfound skill of texting, he texted me. Now, when you're behind home plate, the Pirates ask you not to call on your cell phone because they don't want people talking on their cell phone when they're on television. They want people paying attention to the game. So I felt that familiar buzz of the text, and I couldn't pick up the phone, so I looked at it behind the thing, and I saw it was a text from Archabbot, and he says, how is your alumni event? Where are you? And I said to myself, oh, and then I texted him back and said, I'm at the Pirate game. He said, I know you're on national television. and he saw my lips move when I read his text. But then he did text me back and said, "At least you didn't lie to your abbot." So, for the old adage, no good deed goes unpunished, I confirm that for you with this little story about our arch-abbot, Douglas Nowicki.
So I have a very beautiful story with Abbot. It is at the New Year's Eve, so we have a recreation here at the lounge. So, and Brother Norman brought a Chinese liquor from China. So he gave me to share with other guys. So I have this Chinese, this is kind of Chinese liquor. It's very famous in China. It's the best one and also super expensive. So I saw the abbot there, so I asked the abbot to try, so I gave him a little shot and him to try. And after his try, I asked him, how's it taste, Father Abbot? And it's too strong, it's like a gasoline. So that's the fun memory I have with the abbot. I really enjoy being here, and I thank him a lot to bring me here. It's a gift, a really gift from God.
When Brother Norman asked me to come, if I would be willing to speak about Arch-Abbot Douglas, there's always a story that I do like to tell, which is very dear to my heart. First of all, as abbot, he's been really kind to me. He's given me a lot of responsibility, which allowed me to grow in so many different ways, most especially personally, spiritually, psychologically, and most especially realizing that the vow of obedience is a beautiful thing when we hold it to our hearts. But the most personal and deep thing that I like to say, which I'm so grateful to him for, is the fact that, as many as you know, I had a brother that was very ill from whence he was a little boy. And one of my responsibilities was to look after him. And I can remember one time going to speak with Arch-Abbot Douglas because he was very sick. He was on dialysis, and it looked like he was going to die pretty soon. And he needed a kidney transplant. Well, what happened was that actually Arch-Abbot Douglas went to the people at UMPC, and he actually asked, and a few days later, my brother was accepted for the transplant, and as a result of that, he lived 10 years of a beautiful life, allowing him to get and be close to his family. And when it was time for him to pass away, he again allowed me to go home, be with him, sit with him, and actually be present to him when he died. And these are things sometimes I don't think that we think of Arch-Abbot Douglas about, but there's such a tender kindness and a good heart. And for that, I'm so grateful, and I pray that the Lord bless him with ongoing peace, love, and goodness.
Hello, I'm Brother Elliot Maloney, and I'm a classmate of Father Douglas Nowicki, Father Abbot. I came here in 1965, a city boy, and joined my classmates in the Scholasticate. I was a sophomore in college. That was the class that Bobby Nowicki was in, my classmate, and he became a pretty good friend. He took me to his home. I was from out of town. He took me to his home and his family for a couple things, and we were pretty good fellows in novitiate. We had a wonderful novice master, Father Ehrman, who was from Cambria County, where he was a hunter and a very outdoorsman, and Douglas and I were both city kids. And so one day Douglas and I were out for a walk, and we had a nice walk. It was after dinner. It was coming back. We were coming through the orchard, and we spotted something strange. It was like a statue of a deer. And we looked at each other, and we were real quiet, and we walked up to it. We thought we could go up and touch it. And of course, it saw us and just bounded out of sight. At that moment, out of behind the blueberry bushes came Father Ehrman with a bow in one hand and arrow in the other. He had been stalking that deer all evening. That was the first time and the last time I ever saw Douglas Nowicki at a loss for words and not in complete control of the situation.
Last spring, the Arch-Abbot informed me that I was going to be going to Munich to study German over the summer for about 3 months. So it was a little bit exciting, but also a bit terrifying because it would be my first time in a foreign country where I didn't speak the language, leaving the community and traveling by myself, especially internationally for the first time. It was especially a little anxious when Brother Barnabas left me at the airport, and I realized that, wow, this is really happening. But as I spent time there, I kind of fell in love with the city of Munich, made some good friends with the monks and my fellow classmates, and just really felt challenged and stretched in ways that I hadn't anticipated. The trip really helped me grow intellectually, spiritually, culturally, and personally. And I developed a sense of self-confidence that I just hadn't had when I left. I would just like to really express my appreciation for the Abbot for having the insight to notice some areas of strength that I didn't see in myself, and being able to challenge me to develop those so I can better serve God and the community. So I just wanted to let him know that I appreciate that, and I think it'll bear fruit in the future.
The first couple of years, Douglas was Archabbot. One of our confreres who was elderly, who was living on our 6th floor, and who was not a happy individual. In fact, he was rather nasty. Ended up in Latrobe Hospital, and one evening after dinner, Douglas and I went down to visit him. As soon as we got into the room, he started complaining. And it was food. The food was tall, and there was no ice cream. We had dinner tonight, and there was no ice cream on the tray. And Douglas said, "Father, what is your favorite flavor?" And he looked at him and said, "Chocolate." Douglas left the room, went to the local store, came back, and served him that chocolate ice cream.
Father Abbot, I want to thank you for all your kindnesses to me, for your friendship, and I also want to thank you for the great help you were to me when my sister passed away, my twin sister Joan. It was comforting and very much appreciated. I also want to thank you for the brothers that cannot see you now, who have gone to their heavenly reward, especially Brother Leo, Brother Mark, and Brother Stephen. God bless you and have a great future.
Our Abbot is indefatigable, but once or twice he went to sleep on me in the middle of a conversation.
So before I begin, I'm a little bit nervous standing outside this office, because as all you guys know, you never know when you could walk past here and your life just changes on a dime. If the Abbot sees you and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you real quick," that's when you just start running before all of a sudden you get a new assignment. So let me see if I can do this quickly. I remember whenever I came in for my interview, before I entered the novitiate, Father Max hooked me up with the interview with the Abbot, and I was a little bit nervous because I'd only met the Abbot, a couple times, didn't really know him well, and was kind of afraid of what he was going to ask me. So we sat down together in the Mars conference room, and it was very calm. He's asking me different questions about myself and why I wanted to enter the monastery and what any reservations I had, and I was able to be pretty honest with him, and we were getting comfortable, and then came to the end of an interview, right? And they always say in an interview you're supposed to have any questions prepared for the interviewer talking to you. So of course the Abbot said, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, I don't know if I can ask this or not, but what the heck, I'll ask it. I said, "Father Abbot, I heard that you knew Mr. Rogers very well. Is that right?" He said, "Well, yes, I did." And I said, "Is it true that he had tattoos up and down his arms from being a Navy sniper?" And he stopped and began, I think, to give one of those little Abbot kind of snort laughs, like, and he was like, "No, that's not true." I was like, "Okay, that's all the questions I have." So that kind of broke the ice with me and the Abbot. And then as we're sitting there kind of talking some more, his phone starts to ring. And normally, you give a courtesy when somebody's phone's ringing in a conversation, and you say, "Oh, you want to answer that, go ahead." But you don't actually mean it, Well, it's ringing, he's looking at it, and he goes, "Yeah, I better answer this. It's Arnold Palmer." I was like, "No, it's not. It's not Arnold Palmer." And then he goes like, "Okay, hello, Arnold, how are you?" And I'm sitting there during my monastic interview, listening to my Abbot talk to Arnold Palmer on the phone. And you know, I was just blown away by the abbot sitting there talking to me, having all these connections with these awesome people, but showing his full attention, interest in me entering the monastery, and really treating me these past almost 5 years as a son. I remember during my novitiate every Tuesday, him sitting down with all me and my crazy classmates and spending time just talking to us, encouraging us, and answering all the crazy questions we had for him. So anyway, thank you, Father Abbot, for being a great father to us, and thank you for just always caring for us and giving us a lot of laughs along the way. So God bless you.
One of my earliest memories of Arch-Abbot Douglas was sitting in his office. Over his shoulder was the Mr. Rogers trolley. I was really intrigued, and I was distracted, and I asked him, "How did you get a Mr. Rogers trolley?" And he explained that Mr. Rogers was from Latrobe. At that point, I hadn't put two and two together, and that he was a consultant on the Mr. Rogers show as a child psychologist. And so I remember telling my mom that the abbot had a Mr. Rogers trolley in his office. And she went on to explain to me that that's the only television show that I watched as a young child. So I knew right away, this is where I belong.
I just want to say thank you to Arch-Abbot Douglas for his support of the students through the years. As the Chancellor, I know he's had an integral role in the growth and development of this college, but from my experience has been more of his support for the students individually. I think one of the important things has been his initiative to invite speakers to campus that have really given the students a chance to see different perspectives from the students. I think he's done a lot to support initiatives for conferences on campus. Individually, I can speak for that as his support for the Tri Beta conference we hosted a few years ago. And so all of these have given an opportunity for the students to really experience a true Benedictine hospitality that I think has really been special to allow the students to have that. One of the things that has been a recent support from the Arch-Abbot has really allowed this to grow is behind me. The Arch-Abbot has worked with the Aquarium Club to help make sure we found the correct location and to provide some financial support. So it's been wonderful working with him on these projects, and I just say thank you again to Arch-Abbot Douglas.
Yeah, Father Abbot, you know that I always said ad nutum abbati, at the nod of the abbot. So I've tried to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.